students, this is Nitya Priya. I am so happy to see you again in the second presentation of Unit 2, right? So as we said, this is the second memory management technique, which is partitioned allocation, partition memory allocation technique. First one was single contiguous memory allocation, and this one is going to be partitioned allocation, right? And these are the contents. What is partition allocation technique we are going to discuss, and different strategies of partition allocation, namely first fit, best fit, worst fit and next fit we see. Then we see compaction problem with the help of an example, right? So this is the contents of the presentation, right? So first is partition allocation. What is partition allocation? Partition allocation is the whole memory is divided into different partitions of different sizes. Okay, so this is called as partition. So no need to complicate it. The whole memory is divided into so many partitions of different sizes. That's it. So that is partition. When many partitions are available, when a single process or more than one processes requests for memory, obviously the memory partitions will be can be given to the requesting processes, right? So that will be done by the operating system, and this is what it functions. Memory is divided into partitions, and whichever process is requesting, OS will decide which process the memory will be allocated and which particular partition can be allocated. The OS will decide that also. So this is the gist of partition allocation technique. So in partition allocation there are different schemes, right? So these are the 4 different schemes of partition allocation: first fit, best fit, worst fit and next fit. We see each and everything in detail with the help of an example, right? So this is first fit. See the theory portion of it. First fit. In first fit, the memory is divided into many blocks. As I said, in the partition will be of different sizes, right? The first sufficient block from the top of the main memory is allocated to the requesting process. The operating system just scans the memory from the beginning and chooses the first available block which is large enough to accommodate that particular job. Okay, see the example. This is process A, which is of size 25 KB. See the partitions. The first portion is allocated to OS. It is reserved for the operating system. The next partition is 20 KB. It cannot occupy 25 KB job, right? So the third partition is used. See the next one, it is only 15 KB. It cannot occupy 25 KB, right? Then the next portion is used. See the next partition, it is 40 KB, right? So it can freely accommodate the process A, which is of size 25 KB. Right? So the operating system just scans from the top to bottom, and whenever it encounters a partition which can accommodate the waiting process, then that particular hole will be supplied to, it will be granted to the requesting process. This is called first fit. Right. The next one is best fit. Best fit is, see the theory portion, allocating the process the first smallest sufficient partition. Okay, so whichever partition comes when it is able to accommodate the awaiting process that has been supplied in first fit. Here in best fit, the first smallest sufficient partition is allocated to the awaiting process. See the same example we have here. First part is OS, the second portion is 20 KB. Obviously it cannot accommodate the process A, which is of 25 KB. The third portion is a used portion. The next one is 15 KB. So it is not suffice. The next portion is used, and see the next one is 40 KB, which is large. Okay, when that is used, obviously 15 KB will be wasted. The next portion is used. So the operating system will just wait for the correct amount of correct size of partition. So it just keeps 40 KB and it moves on to the next one is used. The next one is 60 KB. which is very larger than the required, and the next one is you see the last quotient is 25 kb, which is exactly equal to the size of the awaiting process. So that will be allocated to the process. So it sounds to be the best allocation technique. So that is why it is called as best fit, right? So again we say the partition, which is the first smallest and sufficient partition for the awaiting process, will be supplied to the process. So that is called as best fit. And then third one is worst fit. When first fit sees, when best fit sees the first smallest sufficient partition, the worst fit sees the first largest partition. Okay, when it encounters the largest partition first, then that partition will be allocated to the awaiting process, right? See the same example we take here also. It scans from the beginning to the end. 20 kb it skips, 15 kb it skips, 40 kb also it skips. When it encounters 60 kb, which is the largest of all, that is allocated to the process, which is of only 25 kb, right? So this is the worst fit, right? So the last one is next fit. Next fit is it is just similar to first fit. It will search for the first sufficient partition from the last allocated point, from the lastly allocated point. For example, if you see this example, the 60 kb partition is allocated to the process A, right? So the operating system will scan only after that. So for the operating system, only 25 kb will be visible. The last partition, only that will be visible to the operating system. So whatever process comes, it will try to allocate only that partition. So that is called the next fit. So we saw first fit, best fit, worst fit, and next fit, which are the 4 strategies of the partition allocation technique, right? So here there a problem comes, like in partition allocation, the memory is divided into so many partitions. Okay, why we are having this partition allocation technique when we already have single contiguous allocation? Because single contiguous allocation waits many memory locations for a single job. Okay, so a large portion of unused memory is there in single contiguous allocation. That is why we are coming to the next technique, which is partition allocation. In partition allocation also, there is a problem called compaction problem. Compaction is, for example, if a job 50k is there and the memory partition is 75 kb, the 25k will be wasted. Okay, right? And if the next partition is of 50k, and if I have a job of 25k, I'll accommodate there, and the remaining 25k will be a waste. So in the first compaction, 25k is a waste. In the second compaction, another 25k is a waste. If I have a third job is 50k, even though the 25k and another 25k, the 2 remaining portions are available in different locations. For the job which is of 50k, I cannot use those locations because they are splitted. Okay, so this is the problem of compaction, right? So we'll discuss that compaction problem here, how the memory is allocated and how compaction problem is encountered by a problem we see here, right? So consider the request from processors in given order. I just read out the problem. 300k, the processes, there are 4 processes of sizes 300k, 25k, 125k and 50k, right? So we have 2 blocks of memory. The first one is of size 150k and the second one is of size 350k, right? So these are the 2 partitions, right? Now let us try all options. For example, we see the best fit first, right? See, 300k is allocated from the block of size 350k. In which order the process comes, in that only in that order we can allocate, right? So the first processes of 300k. So 300k is allocated to the block of size 350k, and we try out best fit here, right? So 300k is allocated to 350k. So 50k is left unused, right? What is about the next process? 25k. So the 25k is allotted to the remaining 50k block, right? So 50k in the first partition, 50k is unused. That 50k is allocated to the next process of 25k. So there 25k is left unused, right? So what about the next process? It is 125k. So that 125k is allotted to the next block, which is of 150k. So if 125 is accommodated in 150k, so 25k will be left unused, right? So we have free spaces 25k in the first partition and another 25k in the second partition. Now for the fourth process 50k, we cannot get any partition, because even though we have 50k, that is 25 and 25 separately, that 50k job cannot be accommodated. So this is called compaction problem. Even though we have the sufficient memory space, we cannot allocate it for the single job, right? So we try out the next type of allocation, which is first fit. See, the 300k is allotted to 350k. So 50k is left, and the 25k is allotted to 150k. See, we see first fit here, okay? So 25k is allotted from 150k. So 150 when 25k is there in 150k, 125k will be unused, right? So that the next process of 125k is allotted to that 125k, which is left out in the second partition, and the next 50k is allotted to the left out of first partition 50k. There it is allocated. So everything is allocated. So for this particular technique, for this particular sequence of processes, first fit, best fits. Okay. So this is the example, and in this example we have also explained what compaction problem is. Okay, so that is all about the partition allocation. We saw partition allocation and we saw that with an example. Then we explained the problem of compaction. Compaction is the biggest problem in partition allocation. So we discussed that with an example. And our next technique is going to be relocatable partition allocation. And thanks for watching this video. See you in the next presentation. Thank you.